Hello, my name's Noah. This is my keyword outline, and this is speech 4. So first and foremost, I just want to thank Emma for breaking down the benefits of bundling book costs, especially because of the discounts that can then be provided by publishers. What I'm going to talk about is the streamlining benefits of including textbook costs into tuition. And so I'm going to kind of give a little bit of background on what I'm going to be talking about. And so I know Olivia sort of talked about this in the beginning of the speech, but I'd like to hit on it again, is that as you can see here in the light blue is textbook costs. They're roughly around a little $1,200, a little over $1,000 per year. And this is across a whole range of universities and higher education. So this is 2-year programs, 4-year programs, for your in-state, for your out-of-state, and then for your public and private. And so for individuals, for example, one of my friends, I talked to him about textbook costs and how it kind of impacts his life. And for him in particular, he has to pay his way through school. And because of the cost that he incurs, one of the ways that he cuts corners is by not purchasing textbooks. And he falls under, according to national statistics provided by Sierra Leone, that's 65% of students nationwide who skip books due to costs, because he can't afford to pay for these textbooks if he wants to potentially put more food on the table for himself for sustenance so that he can fuel himself to be able to succeed throughout his entire college career. And so out of these 65% of people, 94% are then worried about what their grades are going to look like. And so if you take it in the context of Texas A&M, it's a massive university, right? 70 to 80,000 undergraduate students. 65% of that, 60,000 people. And then 94% of those people are then worried about their grades because they don't feel like they're adequately prepared or equipped to be successful, is a large group of people. And so building in this textbook costs into tuition takes that stress away, but then also allows them to be more successful on the back end. It's not just makes it easier for them, it makes them more prepared, it makes them more successful, which then makes them more successful outside the university once they graduate. And they carry that preparedness on through the rest of their life because they were able to properly learn the course material that their professor laid out for them. And so kind of moving on from that is, from the student side, this is my second point, is that it's a lot easier if textbook costs are included within tuition, because then those course materials are then immediately provided. And so off the bat, cheaper deals with publishers because of bulk purchasing. But then also, since they've already been purchased, in an Inclusivity Act, textbooks are to be delivered by day 7 at the start of the term, whether it's quarter system or semester system. But then also one of the concerns that is then combated within this rule is the opt-out option. So a lot of people may argue that, oh, we feel locked into a contract or a commitment that we don't necessarily want to be a part of, and that's perfectly fine. There's an opt-out option available for these individuals. But all in all, this just makes it a more efficient system for people to be then able to have access to their textbooks and their course material before real coursework starts, right? So for the duration of syllabus week, you don't necessarily need your textbook. You're there just to get familiar with the class and get familiar with what it's going to look like. And then that 7th day of term, you get that textbook, and then you're ready to hit the ground running because you've already kind of built that foundation of what that class looks like, and then you finally have the brick and mortar to build up your knowledge. And so point 3 that I would like to make is the option of open resources. And so open education resources, or OER, is online resources as opposed to paper. And so because they're all online, the cost cuts, if my memory serves correctly, is around 53% in comparison, because the amount of resources and time and effort that needs to go into maintaining these and curating these resources is far less. And they also yield the same or better results than traditional textbooks. According to this diagram from Los Rios Community College, the success rates of their students by demographic, red being OER and the teal color being regular, like textbooks or other alternative options. And so across the board, they've all performed better. In an article written by Jay Hilton, he did something a little bit similar, but he looked at 9 different studies, and what he came to the conclusion is that OER is the same or better. It's not definitive whether or not the results were better because the margins were so tight, but what he did find was that 15 weeks of coursework got shortened to 8 with the same results or better, which was across 9 studies. It wasn't a one-off that he was looking at where it was an academic anomaly. And then Abby Childs is a master's student who wrote her thesis on textbook costs and their inclusion within tuition, and she said that OER helps students succeed. She looked at it a little bit more through a subjective lens by asking on a more emotional scale how students felt, and they felt they were as prepared, if not more prepared, with these online resources because they had so many available to them as opposed to one textbook. And it also, on top of that, made higher education more affordable for people. So they have more access to it. It's not as limiting because of these costs that they may incur through textbooks. And so to conclude, kind of wrapping up, this entire presentation is bundled textbooks provide cheaper options for the university to then provide for their students. It's more efficient to provide these for their students. It creates less stress on the students when they don't have to worry about these costs. And equal access allows all these students to have the same access to the materials that their classmates are going to have, so that they all are equally set up for success and to be as successful as possible. Thank you.